Steal my daughter back. Take all you can carry. There's more. Much more. Enough to become kings yourself. There comes the time, thief, when the jewels cease to sparkle, when the gold loses its luster, when the throne room becomes a prison.
Alright, Shalom. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushua, Bahashim, Rakah, Kodash. I want to give double honors to my apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and grace and peace to you elect around the four corners of the globe, believing and pushing this truth in all sincerity. May the blessing of election be upon your houses. This is your fellow servant, Rokaria from the GMS Orlando camp. And tonight, coming at you with the GMS Walk and Talk. I wanted to expound on a statement that was made in the clip that I played before this from the movie Conan. All right. And the statement goes as roughly paraphrased. There comes a time in where the gold becomes dim and the throne becomes a prison. All right. And that statement is a perfect representation of what we see here in these latter days with the throne of Edom. All right. The throne of the so-called white man. All right. Because not only has his throne or his dominion become a prison for the people, all right, the world, it's become a prison for himself. All right. Because all of the mischief, the wickedness, and the devices that he's devised against the people in order to cut them off, all right, and to bring them under subjection, chiefly the nation of Israel, which consists of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and American Indians, is now coming upon his own head. All right, let's get that real quick in Psalms chapter 7. And let's start at verse 15. All right, and it reads, "He made a pit and digged it, and is fallen into the ditch which he made. His mischief shall return upon his own head, and his violent dealing shall come down upon his own pate." All right, and every single ditch that the so-called white man has dug to cut us off from being a nation, he's now falling into here in these latter days. All right, because he failed to realize that he was digging ditches in his own land. All right, he was setting booby traps in his own house. All right, and every single ditch, all right, the ditch of the AIDS epidemic, the crack epidemic, all right, the gentrification, all right, the opioid epidemic, the homelessness epidemic, he's now falling into these very same ditches. All right, his mischief is returning upon his own head. The mischief of polluting the water source, polluting the air, polluting the food source, polluting the minds of the people to wear these different philosophies and doctrines. These very same mischiefs are coming upon his own head. All right, he failed to realize that he was setting booby traps in his own damn house. And now his throne has become a prison because he's subject to these very same ditches. He's subject to these very same booby traps that he set for the people. All right, now he has to drink from polluted waters. Now he has to eat from polluted food sources. Now he has to breathe polluted air. Now he has to deal with the madness of the people. And his violent dealings are now coming upon his own head here in these latter days as well, because he failed to realize that by usurping these different lands by way of the sword, it was eventually going to come back upon his own head. All right, let's get this real quick in Isaiah. I believe it's the 31st chapter or the 33rd chapter. All right, it might be the 33rd chapter. Right, this is Isaiah 33:1. All right, it says, "Woe to thee that spoilest, and thou wast not spoiled, and dealest treacherously, and they dealt not treacherously with thee. When thou shalt cease to spoil, then thou shalt be spoiled. And when thou shalt make an end to deal treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with thee." All right, and the so-called white man failed to realize that there was going to be repercussions for usurping different lands by way of the sword. All right, by ruling with violence. He failed to realize that fact. And now that he's done conquering lands or wants to settle down, now these other nations are testing his throne. They're testing his power. They're testing his rule. Because they have swords now too. They've been following his blueprint. You see, he failed to realize that by ruling by the sword, you're going to have to die by the sword as well. You can't put the sword down. Once you picked it up, you can't put it down. And now his throne has become his prison because he can't stop fighting. He can't have peace. He can't dwell peaceably. It's impossible. These other nations want vengeance. And now his throne has become his own prison. All right. Going back to Psalm 7. It says, his mischief shall return upon his own head, and his violent dealing shall come down upon his own pate. And everything, all the wicked devices, the wicked counsels that Esau Edom has had to cut us off, you know, and to ultimately get the people to receive his mark, he's now succumbing to. All right. He's now succumbing to these very same things. You see, the Lord had this man in the trick bag the whole time. The whole time this man was thinking that, you know, he's God. That he did that. Like he by his own power, he was able to rule the nations. He was able to conquer the earth. When in reality, the Lord let him have these things so that he can destroy himself, because he didn't have the blueprint for rulership. He doesn't have the spirit for rulership like the nation of Israel. And the Lord is showing us how not to be. He's showing the whole world how not to be. All right, he's showing us that we need the blueprint, that we, in order to rule and to dwell peaceably and to rule forever, we need Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. All right, we need to follow the standard that he lifted up from the beginning. All right, and the so-called white man's throne, his dominion, is a perfect example of a throne becoming a prison without the proper guidance. All right, let's get this. In Job chapter 14 and verse 5, it says, seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. All right, and the so-called white man is dwelling in a kingdom that can only go but so far. And he realizes this. That's why he's going to come down with that great wrath in Revelation 12 and 12, because he realizes that his throne has a set boundary. And for any king, any ruler, that's frustrating. All right, that's frustrating, and that's fearful to know that your kingdom has a bound that it can't pass. That there's only so much that you can do. That there's only so much that a higher power will allow you to do. Because knowing that there's a bound, there must be a higher power stopping you from achieving certain feats. And the so-called white man is realizing now, with the prophets out in the highways and byways, and with the great awakening that's going on around the four corners of the globe, that there's a higher power stopping him from achieving his greatest feat, which is to rule over the whole earth, which is to have everything in a subjection, to have everything imprinted with his mark. He's realizing that that's not a reality. And now the gold is becoming dim to him. All right, the throne is becoming a prison, because he knows that he's soon enough, the Lord is going to put him in that 23 and 1. All right, 23 hours lockdown, 1 hour of play, or 24 and 24 and none. All right, 24 hours of lockdown and no play. And eventually he's going to be destroyed. Thus saith the Lord. Thus saith Obadiah, the first chapter, completely cut off. All right, he knows this. It says, seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. All right, let me get this last one and then I'm going to close it out. You know, this lesson wasn't meant to be too long. I just, seen that clip and it had me meditating on how, this devil's throne has now become his own prison. And the gold is now become dim because he realizes he's going to have to give it back to the people that he stole it from. All right. Like it also says in Job, let me see. Bear with me real quick. All right. Trying to remember what chapter it was in. Let me see. This is Job chapter 20 and verse 15. Let me see. Yeah, it says, he hath swallowed down riches, and he shall vomit them up again. The heavenly Father shall cast them out of his belly. He shall suck the poison of asps, and the viper's tongue shall slay him. All right, but the riches that he swallowed down, through way of usurping these different lands, through way of conquering these different people, all right, destroying, different peoples and lands, he's going to vomit back up. He's going to have to restore the goods that he usurped, that he took. It says, he shall not see the rivers, the floods, the brooks of honey and butter. That which he labored for shall he restore, and shall not swallow it down. According to his substance shall the restitution be, and he shall not rejoice therein. All right. And therefore the gold has become dim to him, because he knows all this gold that he's accumulated, all this platinum, these precious metals, these precious jewels, all right, all these precious oils and ointments and plants and creation that he's accumulated, he's going to have to restore it. He's going to have to restore it. And imagine a king knowing that eventually his kingdom is going to come to an end. That eventually everything that he's taken, he's going to have to give it back 100-fold. That's why this devil is moving with such wrath. That's why he's moving with such haste, because he knows that his time is almost up. The blessing that he received in Genesis, the 27th chapter, is coming to an end. And that's evident by way of the prophecies that's popping off here in these latter days. All right, let's get this last one and I'm gonna close it out. This is Ecclesiasticus or Sirach 10 and verse 10. Not 10, let me start at verse 8. It says, let me see. Yeah, let me start at verse 8. It says, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. All right, and we're in the midst of this translation. All right, because of this devil's accumulation of riches by deceit and injuries, the kingdom is being translated. All right, you need a righteous ruler. All right, the earth needs a righteous ruler, and those righteous rulers are being raised up here in these latter days by way of the 144,000 and 1/3. All right, Lord willing, we build that number. It says, why is earth and ashes proud? There is not a more wicked thing than a covetous man. For such a one setteth his own soul to sale, because while he liveth, he casteth away his bowels. The physician cutteth off a long disease, and he that is today a king, tomorrow shall die. All right, and that long disease has been not only the 2/3 of the nation of Israel, but the nation of Edom. All right, he has been a long disease to the earth, and the Lord is coming to cut him off. And he that is today a king, tomorrow shall die, and shall not be thought of again. All right, shalom. Stay up.